and day 2 and session 4. So this is a sales session on how to grow your training business during a global pandemic. We're joined today by our friends at Sales Geeks, Richard Few, James, Jonathan, and Andrew Thomas, one of our friends at Digital 22. So without further ado, I'll pass you over to the chaps who will be hosting this session for us. As always, we have our chat option open, we have Q&As, and we'll be having polls as well throughout. So I'll stop sharing my screen and I'll allow the guys to introduce themselves.
Make sure we're all unmuted there. Well, guys, very good afternoon. My name is Jonathan Finch. I lead our sales team over at Sales Geek. I'll introduce a little bit else to what we do in a second. Also, I'll give you one more time with Thomas to Digital 22. Again, I'll hand over to Andrew in a second. So at Sales Geek, as a business, we are on a mission to change the way that the world sees the sales industry. I'm sure for many of you out there, if you're in a sales role or if you work with your sales team, you will probably know that sales is not the sexiest word out there. It's not something that people go, wow, yeah, I'd love to work in the sales team. So we're on a mission as a business to change that. A big part of today's session is going to be quite free flowing. Please make sure that you are throwing questions to us. I'll be hosting the session, but I'll be putting questions out to James, Richard, and to Andrew as we're going along the session. So I've already got a number of questions that people have sent over that we will be running through. Before we start, I thought we'd give everyone a bit of a chance to introduce himself. Rich, would you like to give a 30-second introduction as to who you are and what you do within Sales Geek?
Yeah, sure. My name is Richard. I'm founder and chief geek here at Sales Geek. I guess I get to geek off over everything across the whole business, which is quite good fun, and work with these two handsome chaps. So yeah, that's pretty much my lot. Over to you, I guess, James.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. So my name is James Denny, and I'm Chief Strategy Geek here at Sales Geek. My sphere of world, if you like, of knowledge is more about scaling and selling businesses, and everything to do with strategy. So myself and the team and a lot of business partners have been working very hard with how to take a business outside of out of COVID and out of lockdown and into some kind of form of acceleration. So yeah, that's what we do.
Beautiful t-shirt there, James. Well done on that.
I know, do you like it? I went full lockdown mode. I am celebrating lockdown 2020. There is a 2020 piece on it as well. There you go.
Beautiful.
I was there.
Andrew, sorry, let's hand over to you. Apologies for interrupting me.
Oh, you're all right. Cheers, Jonathan. Yeah, so I'm Andrew, head of marketing at Digital 22. We're a marketing agency. We do a bit of everything on a digital perspective, but a lot of content and a lot of things that we can discuss today on supporting sales teams and supporting sales through marketing. So yeah, I'm sort of oversee the guys there. We've got a team based in Clitheroe. And yeah, so looking forward to chatting how we can help, and hopefully how marketing can help sales in this time.
Fantastic. Well, as a business, I mean, Andrew's in a very much the same boat as us, but we're very privileged as a business that we get to talk to lots of different businesses all at the same time. We act as a part-time sales director for some organisations as well as doing training and change management packages within sales organisations. So we're very privileged really as a business that we get to see and get very deep into problems that people are having, challenges that they're having, but also what they're doing well and what they're potentially not doing so well across industries. And I think one of the things that we've seen definitely throughout COVID is some people have really used this time to change, shape and amend the way that their sales function works. And that's been great for us to see and to help businesses with. I suppose I was going to throw this question out first of all to Richard, this is all right. Rich, what's one of the biggest things that you've seen that has helped people accelerate during COVID? We've obviously got some clients that we work with that are doing extremely well, and some that have found this difficult. What are the main factors that you've seen that have really helped people accelerate through this process and will help them accelerate out of it?
I think probably the main diversity of the client base, without a shadow of a doubt. So there's a little bit of feedback on the line. Try again. So yeah, I think for me, diversity of customer base is a massive thing, and also again talking top level here. So yeah, diversity of customer base, multiple revenue streams, and not being too dependent on one or two. We've seen that quite a lot. I think a lot of the people that we've seen that have struggled have got a too narrow audience and are very dependent on one or two revenue streams. So I think those two things, as an absolute base level, are super important. And I think outside of that, really, the people that have done, not so much done the best, but certainly fared the best, should we say, in some cases, they're the people that have, I guess, been willing to look inwards and challenge what they already do in a really unemotional, objective way, to actually stop for a second, and look at their whole business model and challenge it. And that's really hard to do when it's your model and you're emotionally invested in why it is the way that it is. But the world has changed a lot. It's going to continue to change a lot, and whatever normal was isn't going to be what normal is going forward. And that means that, I guess, as training providers, the problem that you solve and the way in which you solved it is probably different now, because your customers' needs might have changed. So I think to be able to stop and look at that and consider what your value proposition is now and how you deliver on that value proposition, the people that did that 6 weeks ago, 7 weeks, 8 weeks ago, are now starting to prosper out the other, sort of not quite out fully out the other side of it, but they're definitely prospering. But if you haven't done that work yet, for me, that's the first place to start.
Hopefully my audio is working. Sorry, I've got a barrage of messages there saying that nobody did. So hopefully that has I'll come back. We'll try a slightly better microphone there. Andrew, what about from your perspective? Obviously, from the marketing side of things, there's always this debate between sales and marketing as to where does marketing finish and where does sales start. And what have you found from working within businesses at the moment that's really helped to accelerate them?
I think to start really is the situation we're in, as has been mentioned. It's a pretty scary time for everyone, and there's been a lot of pullback and pause and waiting around to see what's happening. But what we're finding is that the people that if you reduce your marketing spending, you sort of get into a bit of a vicious cycle. So you pull back on marketing, you're not really out there, your sales reduce, people make cuts, fear creeps in, reduce marketing further, and you end up in a bit of a cycle. So I think for us, we rely a lot on value-based marketing, educational content, really things that your audience really needs right now. And there's more people online than ever. People are searching for answers right now, and we found that the people that are investing time into finding out what those answers truly are, speaking to their current customers, speaking to them and seeing what is it they're struggling with, how can we pivot and then actually provide something that might not be our traditional offering, are really excelling and being just being aware and being around their audience right now. I think as we come out of this and get back to whatever normal is, or the new normal, the people that have been busy now and been a voice and helped people are going to be remembered, are going to stay around, and are going to be remembered. So I think it's a really great opportunity for some people that may not get that same, may not always have digital locked down compared to another company. It's a great time to get in there and start providing value and get talking to people.
No, we can't hear him at all.
He's gone from one extreme to the other.
I thought that was me then. Jeez.
J-Dog, can't hear you, my man. The Sales Geeks, for any of you that don't know us, we were doing this thing called the Sales Geek Huddle, just while he brings his microphone back online, every morning, 8:30 to 9. It was a free thing that we did. It was just about sales insight. It was about thought leadership. It was thought of the day, bit of motivation, all that sort of great stuff. And Jonathan, bless his heart, hosted it every single day, and there was not a single day that didn't go by where there was a technical challenge. And
the irony of that situation, though, James, is when Boris put us into lockdown, he was the first one to get in his car at 8 o'clock that night, drive to the bunker, and steal as much visual or AV equipment.
Yeah, I know. That's going to teach him, isn't it?
Everybody else.
So while he's doing that, I'll throw my pen in on the past two comments, if you like. So some observations. One of the things that we've been doing at Sales Geek, we work across a lot of industries, a lot of sectors, a lot of business platforms, all the way through into central government. Been doing a lot of stuff with Department of International Trade and some other things as well. And we tend to pose a lot of these questions to businesses out there to ask them, how are you coping? All the usual stuff, right? And it's right that we ask the usual stuff. How are you coping? What's going on? Now, there's a model that Richard and I and Jonathan talk about when we're educating businesses, which is an adaptation of a model that we've made off the Kubler-Ross model. If you don't know it, go Google it. But effectively, it looks at the change curve of what happens when a crisis occurs. And we're in crisis management for everybody, right? So the crisis happens to be different. It seems to be a pandemic right now. We're in lockdown, all the rest of it. There's lots of causality that then starts to occur, and supply chains dry up inevitably. And there's this self-fulfilling model that starts to happen within businesses, that when one person stops to buy or procure or engage, others start, and it creates that kind of train kind of buffering situation going on. So the thing is we're all starting, or many businesses starting to come off the back of it. So there is this roller coaster goes in a particular curve. There are particular segments and boxes off the back of that, and every business can track it. Your business, our business, your customers' businesses can track themselves across that curve. The thing is to understand where are they on that curve, and most importantly, where are their customers on that curve. So the sales model, if you like, and the sales process is actually going to change post this lockdown sort of COVID period, because we're going to have to adapt to do new ways of working and new models sort of thing. So one of the key tricks that every business now needs to try to get engaged with is understanding not only where are they, your direct customer, on that change curve, but where is their customer's customer? Because at the end of the day, sales is about helping you to facilitate the ease of a sale of whatever the product or service that you are talking about. And if you can alleviate their customers' challenges, their customers' challenges, then you're putting yourself in a slightly stronger position. And I think it was Andrew, and might have mentioned it, I know Richard talked about it as well. There's this thing we've termed pivot. Okay, so pivot is about where you change part of your business model to support in a different way. If you have a training business, or if that's what you're doing and you're out there, you must be pivoting your organization right now. You must be prepping that in a sense to, how do I engage my content to my customer base in a more dynamic, easy to consume manner, that I can go out in a more broader spectrum way to engage customers. So understand right now where your customers are on that curve. Understand where the customer sits on that curve, and then you need to provide facilitation as to ease that cycle of coming back into the normal world, whatever the new normal might look like. And the more you can provide answers to that particular story, trust us, because we're doing this for many customers right now, you will be seen as a great savior, because so many businesses out there right now don't know how to do it, don't know what to do, don't know how to get those gears of commerce and economy going again, and therefore finding innovative ways to do that is a really important part and an important part of the dynamic. And the last thing I'd say, hopefully then Jonathan's microphone's back on, is on the pivot side, don't be afraid to think about your products broader than the siloed operation that they're sat in right now. So we're seeing a lot of success in companies that are embracing other partnerships in products and services that got nothing to do or nothing related to their product or service, and they're helping them to support and promote those products and services together. So a natural one, and there are people that are making a killing out of this, I can tell you right now, is, I'll give you an example. I'm working with a company that makes glue, adhesive, and they provide that glue and adhesive to manufacturing organizations to pack boxes. Simple as that. It's a competitive market, lots of people out there. Now, the supply chain market got to keep going, but the glue side of things, not people don't want to change suppliers, people are hunkering down, let's just get the job done, etc. So their business is quite challenging. So they hit on a great idea, partner with a company that they work with 2 doors down the road. So why don't we sell sanitizers and toilet rolls and loo brushes, I don't know, all this cleaning stuff that their customers, the glue company, might want, but they can buy at scale, and they're making a fortune off the back of it. Now, that's just one example of at the moment diversification, but there are other blends of diversification that you should be thinking about, which will take you further going forward, creating partnerships where you can say to your customers, listen, not only can we leverage this training side of things, but we've got this side of it, this side of it. And what that in business, what that's termed is a growing ecosystem. So think about your ecosystem. I've rambled on enough. Hopefully Jonathan has got a microphone working. No, he hasn't. Good Lord, Jonathan. No, it really isn't working.
Just as far as Jonathan's waste there, we do have a question that came through just on what you were talking about there, James, which is how do you find those relationships? How do you start to engage with something where it's very, very far off track from what you usually do? How do you start those progressions, and how do you foster those relationships?
Yeah, and I think Richard and Andrew probably have a comment on this one as well. But for me, it's you've got to have the forethought to understand what is complementary to my business. Now, glue and cleaning materials are not naturally complementary, but they're complementary in a crisis. Okay. Now, as we move out of this crisis and we move into a new world of engagement, which is what lockdown is starting to prove to everybody, there is a natural status of some complementary services. So you have to work out what the products and services you sell, and then, a bit of a straw man, SWOT analysis, all the analysis tools that you want to use. You have to work out what some of those complementary tools will be, and don't be afraid to approach companies on that. We do it. And we have people approach us as well. And the thing is you have to weigh people up, and you have to weigh businesses up at the end of the day. And you have to work out where the balance of risk lies and where the balance of effort also sits. But there will be some complementary services out there and products that you would naturally want to engage with. And I can assure you right now, from the engagements that we have, and Richard can probably echo this now, and I promise I'll stop because I can see him twiddling his fingers. He wants to say something. That is... and that is, they're as stuck as you are. They want to get it going as well. So you only have to find 3 or 4 like-minded businesses or business people that have the right ecosystem, that want to engage. You just need to be fleet of foot to work out what the commercial endeavor looks like, and then you need to action it. And that's the key thing. Go do something.
Have a return? No?
Yeah.
Good. There was a point that I wanted to jump in on there, James, which was a great one. When you were talking there about partnerships, I think one thing that a lot of businesses have done very well during this period, but also have done quite badly. Pipeline slowed down. There's no other way of looking at it. As soon as Boris made that announcement, a lot of things did get put on hold. There's still things that were moving, that were trickling through there, and we've seen that very much. But I think the one thing that definitely happened was pipeline slowed down, and people started to believe that they couldn't sell. And what a lot of companies, I found this quite a lot of the clients that I've been working with, we focused with them on making partnerships. We focused on going to companies that were down the road, that were in the same market sector or had the same target audience, but weren't a threat to each other and could actually work quite collaboratively together. And although we had those conversations in some respects, sometimes 5-6 weeks ago, what we've now seen is now things are starting to unravel, the economy's starting to get going again, those partnerships are actually starting to work and are starting to be profitable, and those relationships that were made during that time. So at the moment, based on where we are on that curve that you were talking about, where do you think we should be really focusing? Would that be on sales and really pushing sales? Should it be on marketing? And I'll come to you on this one, Andrew. Or should it be more on business development? Where should the focus be at the moment for sales teams, really?
Do you want to go first, Richard, or do you want me to go?
I thought we were chucking that one to Andrew.
I was going to Andrew on that one.
Oh, sorry. I thought you said come to Andrew in a minute. Oh, I'll pay attention next time.
Yeah, so, I mean, what I was going to say to add to James's point was this time and understanding where those partnerships or ideas may lie is, from our perspective, from a marketing perspective, it's purely down to the customer, the sort of persona profile of your audience, and they've all got similar aims. They've all still got those aims. They still need to achieve those goals. They may have got distracted from them quite massively recently, but they're still sat there. They're still in the mind. And I think if you understand that and you understand where they're trying to get to, the partnerships or the other companies that, if they're not an actual supplier that you're aware of, they're going to start to come to the fore, and you're going to understand who can help us help the audience to actually achieve that. And we've seen that. We have clients in the hospitality industry, in the events industry, that have just shut down immediately, which is fun for us as a marketing agency. We had to make a few quick changes, but I think what they've done really well is to reach out to the people they may traditionally be working alongside and think, right, we're not going to actually deliver on this event or this product this for the rest of this year, but we can do something that is low entry, free of charge, whatever that is, just value based, from a marketing perspective, that then engages and brings an audience that would be far easier and more engaged to sell to when that moment comes. And it's about keeping the attention, keeping the interest, so that that's how I see marketing's job right now. It's engagement and keeping that audience aware that you're still there and that you're still here to provide value, whether it's through a paid service or product or content, tips, advice. Both of those things are helping you reach that goal, and that's why we're here as a business. So I think that's how sales and marketing can really sort of work well together, because you're both doing the same thing. You're getting the audience together, and then the sales team are there with the context of the value you've provided. And it's always nice for the sales team to come in off the back of something that is high value and a nice thing to have happened, and you get a much receptive audience off the back of it. So yeah, not sure where, everyone's at a different stage. I guess I think we're sometimes, some weeks we're coming out of it, some weeks we're straight back down. But from marketing, we're just kind of treating it as this isn't going away quickly, but we need to keep people interested in what we do and aware that we're not at the bottom of that curve with them. We've got confidence, and I think partnering up and showing confidence as a provider of a service is a really powerful tool.
And I think that one of the things that we've seen with certain companies, there are certain businesses who've not completely shut down over this time, but have shut down from a marketing perspective. And for me, it's about readjusting the way that we're marketing ourselves. During this crisis, even from the start of it, our attention has been changed, which if our attention has been changed, that means that from a marketing perspective or from a sales perspective, we have to put ourselves in front of clients in different ways. I mean, within 24, 48 hours, people went from going to big networking events, going to expos and other events all across the country, to now staring at a computer screen for pretty much all of their working day. Yeah. And that made some tremendous shifts, I think, from a marketing perspective. And we've definitely seen that some organisations have done really well with that. I mean, the stuff to complement Access Planner that I think you guys have done really well is bringing people together on webinars like this. It's provided a lot of value to people. And the messaging and the marketing, that if you look at the way Access Planner have put themselves out there, is very much about providing value. So I think one of the tips that I would give to anybody who's potentially watching this is have a think about what value you could provide to your sector over the next few weeks. Because as we start unrolling from this, as money starts coming back in, the wheels of commerce start turning again, you want to make sure that you are at the forefront of that person's mind. Because Richard made a really good point in a webinar that we were on this morning, that one of your current clients or one of your clients that you had pre-COVID that's been working with you on a retainer or they were your client, they are going to be out of COVID and they're going to be on someone else's prospect list. There's going to be a salesperson out there, sat there, going, I want that client. They're your client at the moment. You own that client. They're yours. But at some point, someone else is going to come along. I suppose I'm going to throw that one over to you then, Rich. I've led on your first point on that you mentioned this morning. But one of the questions that we were asked was around key account management versus fresh business and where should the focus be at the moment. I know that's a real passion point of yours.
Yeah, but it sort of ties slightly back into the question that James took earlier about the pivoting thing. It all comes down to the same thing, which is customer intimacy. If you really know your customer, then understanding where you can pivot into and how you can add more value to them becomes reasonably straightforward in terms of deciding how you can provide more services to that client and where you might want to partner with some people to add more services. If you truly understand that client and their challenges and their needs, then that actually becomes quite easy and straightforward to identify, and then in turn you can go and identify partners. But it comes down to the same thing, and Andrew touched on this earlier about getting in contact with the people that you already have, and because of what you just said, like I mentioned this morning on that other event, that there's a degree of naivety, I think, in a lot of businesses, that they feel like once they've obtained a client and they're theirs and they're in the stack of invoices somewhere, that they're enslaved to them forever, and they're really not, because we work in a real mixed bag of businesses, and everyone's trying to get new business. Everyone's got a prospect list and a target list, and they want to reach out to these people, and these people, they probably have an incumbent provider of that existing service to some degree, unless you are completely unique. But I think, first of all, it ring fences them as a client. Secondly, it gives you an opportunity to cross-sell them and going back to this term pivoting and partnering with people, because it is a ton easier to create products for clients than it is to find clients for products. Just be really clear on that. If you've got a customer base right now, the cheapest way for you to grow is to do more for the people that you've already got than it is to go and find more people to buy the thing that you already do, if that makes sense. The other thing is, the best people to get recommendations and referrals from into your target audience is the people that you're already selling to, because they're in your target audience and they probably hang out with people just like them. And by asking, it's amazing how many people don't ask, by the way, for referrals. There's sort of stat recently that suggested that something like 87% of satisfied B2B customers would refer or recommend a provider of a service that they were satisfied with. Less than 10% of salespeople ask for that referral, that opportunity. So for me, there's 3 or 4 reasons there why you should do it. And the last and final reason is, should get in contact with them just because you give a damn about them. If you truly do, they have given you their money for a period of time. The least you can do is check in, make sure they're okay, and just ensure that they're doing okay for this difficult period as well.
And just to echo on what Richard was saying there, right? Because we're Sales Geek, you know, we're all about salesy stuff and things like that. Something else that we don't do a great deal of, if I'm honest, with what we observe is we don't ask for the business. One of the things that is fundamental in today's world, as we're sitting and living and breathing right now as this call goes out, is that the sales process will have adapted, changed radically for some, adapted for others, and will stay static for just a few. Therefore, the process of the sales engagement of asking for business, asking for a referral becomes all the more important. The days of, I think, where we used to behave, which is, here's a quote, Mr. Customer, you know, well, I'll be in contact with you, and you know, how do you feel, and what do you think, and all this sort of stuff, right? That namby-pamby way of selling, it's going to go out the door. People have got more, they've got more urgency in their mindset, and they've got more critical risk assessment in their mindset as to how they will part with money, how they will invest, how they will do stuff. So taking your customers on a sales journey and making sure they understand your sales journey. Don't be afraid to articulate it to your prospects, to your customers. If you're pitching for business, or you're going to pitch a brand new piece of business, elaborate to your customer. Look, you know, we're going to go on a journey together. It doesn't mean that we end up doing business together. You might have to go and do it with somebody else. You might not do it at all, whatever the situation is. But there's a process to be followed, and I'm going to do these actions. You're going to do these things, and at the end of it, we're going to come to an outcome. That outcome might be brilliant for both of us. It might mean that we don't do anything at all, but there's an outcome. We're not going to waste each other's time. We're not going to waste each other's investment, but we're going to get down to the nitty gritty of what this takes. Now, I'm being very kind of, you know, flippant with that, but if you think about it, pre this COVID situation, so many businesses that we would be advising, and salespeople in general, just don't ask for the business. Don't go into the detail of saying, well, okay, what does it take to get this over the line, Mr. Customer? And I think in today's world, what I'm seeing already is we have to be a bit more tough with a customer, not to get them to do the thing that you want them to do, but to get them to make a decision so that everyone understands where the clarity sits. So ask for referrals, most definitely, but also sharpen up your ability to ask for the business.
He's gone again.
Richard, man, what's just
while Jonathan's trying to get his microphone back on, we've had a great question through from Rachel on the Q&A, just on the topic of partnerships and value. Yeah. What partnerships and value adds can the training industry specifically be looking at and considering over the next however long really this goes on for?
It depends on what their training offering is. So if I look at our business, so we're obviously we're in the sales training space. So I guess we kind of have two options, really. And I guess depending on exactly what sector these guys in, again, you might get some variations in this, but the way that we look at it, we can step in as a sales training provider and as the perceived authority on sales, and offer other sales related services to them, and obviously we do that. We have a broader product mix in our business other than just sales training. We do strategic training with business owners, and we pivot into different areas. So you can offer more products within your professional skill set, if that makes sense. So for us, it'd be other sales type products, or you can bring in other people that provide content that adds value to your target audience. So naturally, I suppose, like obviously ourselves and Andrew on this call, if a customer engages with us to help them with their sales strategy, and they're looking at how to go to market, then a natural partnership there would be with a marketing business to say, well, actually, as well as looking at sales process and your overall go-to-market strategy, let's look at how you can fill your funnel. So that's a really easy way to add value, by partnering with people who have the same target audience and are basically going to help that client achieve their goal, which in our world is an increase in revenue. There's lots of different ways in which you can do that.
Absolutely. And we've seen a few examples within our customer base of training businesses, let's say in construction, where they may not offer a particular health and safety course. They're partnering with other organisations for them to deliver it on their behalf. So I think that's going to become particularly prevalent when we see a reduction in classroom numbers as well. You won't be able to take the demand when people are starting to look at being recertified. So being able to partner with other organisations will be crucial. Thank you.
I think one of the things on that, am I back?
Yeah.
It's always hit and miss.
Stop pressing buttons.
I am staying away from anything. I think the other thing on that, Jenny, is to find out from your clients what other services that they would use, because that will tell you who some of your best referral or partnerships could be. If you're going into an organisation and talking to them about a particular area of training, like Richard said, we work with other organisations that do leadership and management training. They pass things over to us, we pass stuff over to them, but we're in the same sort of sector. If we were working with someone that did, for example, health and safety training, it's very rare that they would come across something where they would be going, well, I've got you, do you know anyone who could help with our sales team, and vice versa from our perspective. So really finding, I suppose, who those key people are. Speak to your clients about it alongside procuring training from you on that subject. What other areas do they struggle with? Where else are they working with? Because if you can find that partnership with someone else, it's really easy and a good way to pass things to each other. One of the other things that Jen has put through there was, do you worry about devaluing your services or resources by offering it free or at a reduced rate over this time? Flipping out. absolutely not. Go on, James. I'll fire off to you on that. I don't think you could have.
Well, I mean, Andrew, it'd be good to get Andrew's take on this as well, because we're two slightly different industries, but complementary in service, if you like. So the thing is you can classify it as social selling. You can classify it as relationship selling, collaborative selling, whatever model you want to call it. But there's lots of psychology and there's lots of behavior model. And one of the things that Sales Geek is very good at, and what we do, and part of our majors, is the psychology of sales and behavior and the science behind buyer behavior, stuff like that. So we know a lot about this sort of stuff. And one of the things that we understand is what makes people engage with brands and companies over a long period of time. And it doesn't always necessarily mean come through from the sale. So doing things like reciprocity, all right? We understand that persuasion is a very specific skill set. There are lots of core tenets to it, but reciprocity is a key one. So we give to get. So a give to get can be that you do like what we do. We do when we were doing the Geek Huddle. We just started off the back of just trying to get engagement, half an hour of a morning, inviting people on, which is a bit of free IP from us, which would normally be paid content, stuff that people would traditionally pay for. But it means that the people that are coming on there remember us. And it's that remembering thing that's all important. You don't have to give a lot away. You don't have to do a lot, but people want help. People are looking for information. They're looking for leadership. They're looking for guidance in a challenging time. And the more that you're prepared to offer part of that guidance and challenge it and assistance, be it for free or for a much reduced rate whilst you're taking people on the journey, you will be remembered. The thing is about the quality and the output of what you give them. That's important. Don't just be throwing all sorts of freebies because it just lands in a mute spot. But think tactically about what it is you want to give. But give. And you do need to give, because people will remember that, and they remember it over a long period of time. What about you, Andrew?
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. I think as an inbound marketing agency, that's very key to the methodology around bringing people in on their terms with an offer or a piece of content, something that they actually value and can make use of. And at the moment, we do that anyway, COVID or not. I think that's a great strategy to have, whether it's an example or something unrelated to your product in terms of it's not a tester. It might be just something around the topic, some guidance on something that you may offer as a paid service down the line. So you could start to bring people in with some early stage sort of awareness type content or offering, and then keep hold of those people and bring them towards that sale later on. And I think that's a great time to be implementing a strategy like this. So for example, there might be some guidance coming out in an industry that you train for next year. You could start to write content around that, write an expert guide, bring in some of the people that you may have carrying out this training, and put their expertise into a white paper or some sort of video, and then you could offer that out for free. leading up to that deadline. And I think close to the time, you may have more in-depth training, more in-depth services around that, but you've actually generated that audience who are interested, provided something of value, and created a great relationship. If you do start to create things like that, however big or small, you can also use a like a marketing CRM or a sales CRM, start to collect some data, give it away, put it behind a landing page, and start to actually collect and generate leads in this time. And there may not be leads that are buying today or tomorrow, but they're going to be really happy leads that are getting great content from you, so that when things do start up again, you've got sort of a primed audience. So yeah, I totally agree. I think that's a great way to look at it. Yeah, I don't think it disvalues the product at all. If anything, it enhances the brand, and it can actually add a lot of value to the paid services that you do offer.
I think so. Go on, Rich.
I was just going to say, we've it's a common fear actually, this about either giving products away or giving samples of products away for free. I think it'd be fair to say that from our first week of trading as a business, we gave away. I started when I was on my own doing weekly videos and just giving advice out and giving advice out and giving advice out. And if your product is education as a training business, then showing people a little bit about what you know, how you deliver, your personality, and the best medium we use for that is video through social. I think it'd be fair to say, and it's recovering again now. Pre-COVID, we generate 2 to 3 inbound inquiries a day into our business for free through LinkedIn, particularly by leveraging video. And the video was they're giving videos. And one thing you can't control always is when somebody wants to buy the thing that you want them to buy. So they'll have a need for it at some point, and you have to be at the top of that list when the want becomes a need. And one way to be at the top of that list is A, be visible through video content and giving away that content for free, and B, having given that content, James touched on it earlier, you've built reciprocity, right? You've built this reciprocal value where you've given first, and in turn that person's more likely to come to you when they want to spend some money.
I think it's a key thing there that when we're talking about, I mean, it's one of the questions here actually. I mean, there's a question that's come through that says, for training businesses that don't have a very well established or even non-existent social media presence, what's the best single thing they can do to increase awareness of the training offering? And just before I come on to that, I think what you were talking about there, Rich, so someone asked me a little while ago, they went, what return on investment can we expect from doing some more brand marketing and from giving more stuff away? What return on investment can we expect from that? And my answer was, you can't always quantify what this sort of stuff is going to turn in for you. But if you've got 2 different businesses, one that is doing a webinar every week and also putting out a PDF each week with their top tips of things that people are doing wrong in the training industry, they're also putting out every week at least 2 LinkedIn videos with some tips on their top mistakes that they're seeing and things that they're seeing across the sector, versus company B, who's not doing any of that stuff. They're sat there going, I'm not giving any of this away. Tell you what, this stuff's staying in here. They want it. They've got to come and pay for it. Which business are you more likely to go to? Obviously, it's going to be A, assuming it's good advice and assuming that the things that they've been giving out are good tips and tricks. So you can't quantify all the time and immediately what this will do for you. But over a stage of months and over a stage of years, you can see the brand growing, which is when people start getting much bigger. Go on, Rex, sorry.
Just going to say, because we're amongst peers here, I wouldn't not necessarily normally say this. Again, the webinar on this morning, I wouldn't put this out there, but we are amongst our own in terms of training businesses on this call. I'm aware of that. The advice I was given when I was writing my business plan for this business, and I was thinking about putting out content, and I was worried about the same thing. And a very sensible chap turned around to me and said, whatever you got, give it away for free. This is 2 reasons why you want to give it away for free. First of all, people will always think you know more anyway. So whatever you're giving away, people always think you're hiding some stuff. So his advice to me was put your best stuff out there, because people always expect that there's something else behind it. And the second thing is, if you give it away, it forces you from a professional development perspective to go up and improve your content. So I think one of the dangers that we see for content providers is stagnation of content, that they build some stuff, they go out and monetize it, and they monetize it and monetize it and monetize it, and 2 or 3 years later, it's the same stuff. They haven't actually moved the content forward. And by putting it out there relentlessly, it forces you to keep educating and keep sharpening the axe and getting better and better and better. And we've pretty much followed that mantra over the last 3 years.
I'm just looking at, I think it's Nidhi who's just put onto the sort of group chat there about know, like and trust. Fantastic methodology to go through. Know, like and trust. If people know who you are, like you, trust you, they will come to you, and you will see inquiries sort of flowing through from there. So the one thing that
just on methodologies, as Jonathan's thrown it out there, our favourite one, or one of our favourite ones, is the golden circle. Yeah, if you're going to make statements to your customers, tell them what it is you do, tell them how you do it, but tell them why you do it.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's the why that'll get you over the edge.
Yeah, absolutely. So going back to the question on there regarding training businesses, I mean, this is one that I'd be really good to get your input on as well, Andrew. I mean, we're very hot at Sales Geek on making sure that we're putting out quite a lot of video content. I think it's probably the best form of content that you can put out at the moment. People can see your face, they feel like they know you, know, like, trust, completely going back to that. How are you seeing that sort of the shift going at the moment? Because LinkedIn does seem to be filling up more with a lot more video content, but do you still feel it's as hot as it was possibly before COVID?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a couple of years back, Facebook made the shift with their algorithm to promote video when they first sort of released it, as you could have, really long videos on there, and then LinkedIn quickly followed suit. So you actually get a bump up in engagement and reach. There's a lot of tricks on LinkedIn, putting your links in the comments and things like that. But if you're recording video and posting it natively in LinkedIn, in LinkedIn's eyes, that's quite a newish feature for them. It's not been around too long, and they're going to actually give you a boost. They're probably going to show it to everybody in your network, as opposed to a select few that they think would respond well to that. So from a purely boring technical perspective, I'd say definitely do video. But then if you flip it just to a purely marketing perspective, it's an absolute no-brainer, especially in the training industry, where it's an interactive service. It's a person-to-person delivery. Reports are great, data's good, those sorts of stuff work, and they're good to have in your arsenal, but they're never going to be as engaging as a video, as a Q&A, as a quick video or a long, podcasty style recorded thing. However you choose the format to be, it's not that you have to invest in thousands of pounds worth of kit and spend hours doing videos. It can be done on your phone. Some of the best videos are just quick thoughts and put out there. And again, tying it back to the audience, you're talking about stuff in their language. You understand them, and you can talk to them at this time around those fears and be quite open and honest. I think you're going to cut through a million other LinkedIn posts, paragraphs with pictures. You're going to cut straight through that stuff, and it's a lot easier. You don't have to proofread. You can just go for it. As long as you know what you're talking about, you don't have to worry about a spelling mistake or not putting the right link in. You can just talk and start to get people to actually respond in that post, and almost treat your LinkedIn feed like a blog or like an email inbox, and just start there. Definitely, yeah.
I think from an attraction perspective as well, video is great, because if people sort of like the way that you've put yourself forward, because they might love your content, but if they don't love the way that you've said your content, you're not going to get on with that person as a client or as a trainer working within that business. And one of the things that we often get asked around here, and just to get different views on this, but the difference between sales and marketing, because there's always this rampage going on LinkedIn. Is it social selling or is it social marketing? And my view on this is that when we're putting videos out there onto LinkedIn, we're marketing. And all salespeople, however you look at that, are marketers first. If nobody knows what you do, if they're not aware of you, you can't go and sell. So unless you have from your business a complete influx of inbound leads being thrown into your inbox that you're just following up on, and that's part of your strategy as a business, all salespeople need to be marketeers. And obviously we've talked about video there, but as a business, I mean, this is a big one to get your opinions on, Rich, but what other ways can businesses and salespeople market themselves? Because previously we used to market ourselves. I used to go to events and exhibitions, and I'm walking around there marketing myself to try and speak to people rather than selling. But now that's changed. What's one of the best ways for people to be marketing themselves in order to start getting in some more leads?
I think it's part of that, just I guess as a prefix to it. I think certainly as a training business ourselves, I think it's getting that balance a little bit between marketing your business and also marketing yourself, and whatever happens in the world we live in now with social media, there's always a degree of personal branding. I'm a great believer that people buy from people. I think you probably get to a point in your growth where obviously your brand has enough value that people obviously would engage with a brand because the trust is there. But it's almost easier to create trust with you as a person than it is with a brand that's a little bit faceless. It's a logo, and it's kind of hard. It can be harder to give it personality unless you've got a really good marketing company behind you. But I think that's the first thing, is that getting that balance. And again, Andrew touched this earlier about algorithms. When you're posting out from a company page on LinkedIn, it's much harder to get travel and get views, because LinkedIn have a product to sell you to help you reach more people, whereas an individual, LinkedIn doesn't have a product to sell you, right? So you content generally travels a bit further. And I think from that as a tool, I'm going to make the assumption, we have 140 odd training business on here, that a lot of people are selling B2B. LinkedIn's an amazing tool to both market and grow your personal brand, but to sell as well. And you can utilize the messenger function to be a little bit more direct with that as well. And you can position yourself there and regularly put content out, but there are a ton of other things you can do on that platform in terms of getting involved in other people's conversations, starting one-to-one conversations with people, not talking about launching straight into a sales pitch like a lot of people do on the first message. That's a no-go, but you can certainly build relationships and treat it like you would go into a networking event. It's not dissimilar, which is why I always find it fascinating that people won't take connection requests from people they've never met. You wouldn't not go to a networking event or an expo because 100 people in the room that you've never met before. It's about building relationships. And I think if people see it as a large networking event where you can build relationships and you play the slightly longer game, you will have success from a platform like that. If you land on it, add people, pitch people relentlessly, you will burn audience and you'll be in and out of it before you can shake your hat.
So just on that one, what Richard's saying here, right? Let's do what we'll eat our own dog food, as I like to say. My colleagues look at me go, what? And that is what you teach. So there's 100 odd people or whatever on this call. You've got Richard, you've got James, you've got Jonathan, you've got Andrew, Matt can join in as well. Get on your LinkedIn, go find us, go connect with us. All right, we'll connect back with you. And if you put interesting posts on, because we'll see them, we'll share them and we'll pump them out there. If you see interesting posts from us, you pump them out there. I've got thousands of people in my connections. Jonathan's got 10,000 of people, says Richard. Half of them will get to see the things that you're talking about. And half of that is reciprocity, right? It's all about sharing the love. We're all in the same boat. We're all in the same storm, but not in different boats, right, Richard? So therefore, why don't we start doing that? So why don't we increase our connections here today? And then when you start to create your posts, as long as we think it's informative, if we don't think it's informative and I think it's shite, I'll tell you, and you get an opportunity to do something about that. But if we like it, we'll post it. And if we like do stuff and you like what we do, post it. And that's part of helping one another on the roadmap out of lockdown. There you go.
We were talking before about a really important point there, James. When we were talking about partners before, we, as a business, we do promote a lot of other companies' posts and stuff. We also hope people will promote ours. But I think one of the things that people expect with LinkedIn is they go, brilliant, got my camera phone, got my tripod, let's get a video out there, and sit there going, this is going to be brilliant. I've asked people to get in contact with me with inquiries, and sat there going, why is the inbox not flowing through? And for me, the marketing aspect of this, and of course I am on the sales side of things, Andrew, so I will be pushing this side. But the marketing element from a time perspective for me probably takes me 25% of the time of that sales process. The video might take me 2 or 3 minutes. It is the follow-up, the messages, the getting in contact with people who commented on that post, where they get into my sales process. If we just put a video out there, and I've made this mistake before, just put a video out there and I've sat there waiting for the responses to come back in. If they do come in, they're never from the people that I really wanted them to. They're from random people that weren't quite my perfect target audience. But the real time and effort comes through looking through that post and seeing what people have commented on it and dropping them a personalized message. I mean, we were talking about this morning, weren't we, Rich? But LinkedIn has got this great feature at the moment, which nobody seems to be using, called voice notes. And you can leave someone a voice note. It's like leaving them a voicemail, but you can leave it through LinkedIn. So you can message someone and just go, hi, such a body. I saw that post that you put out today around X, Y, and Z. What a brilliant post. I really enjoyed this part of it. Just wanted to, if you're free next week, I wanted to pick your brains on a couple of things. If you're free, give me a shout back. Let me know some times that have worked for you. It's so much more personalized than just hoping that they're going to get in contact with you or going out to them with that cold message. It's a completely underutilized tool at the moment, which give it a few months, it will start getting flooded. You'll be getting more voice notes through and you'll be wishing that they weren't there. But it's a really important tool to use from an outreach perspective. The one thing I was going to ask you, Andrew, from your perspective and from marketing, if anyone here has decided, you know what, I want to go down the video route and I want to be putting some videos out on LinkedIn, is there a particular call to action or is there a particular thing that they can do in that marketing message that will increase the amount of inbound leads that they get, or increase the amount of interactions that they get on that particular post?
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to mention something around this, which is the video content is great for engagement, building relationships, getting the brand out there and yourself, and creating those relationships. But it's really important to have some meat on the bones. For someone goes, I like these people, you know, that what they're saying is great. Let's just go and have a look. What else have they got? More videos is great as well, but having your messaging on the site, on your website, right, and in line with how you're talking on LinkedIn or whatever platform you choose is very important. And having a mixture of content, so the stuff on LinkedIn might be quite informal, might be quite of the moment, but having some more meatier pieces of content on your website around the big themes of that year or the next year that people are considering, so that people have got somewhere to go, whether it's a link on a website or a link to some other blog or whatever it is. But make sure you do direct them somewhere. I mean, the goal is either to get them to reach out on LinkedIn and talk to them from there, but it might be to send them to your site, to sign up for a taster session, to download that report, whatever it is. So it's quite important that you try and you can't do everything, I appreciate that, but try and have one or two bits of content that you think are really going to resonate with the audience that are along the same topics of what you're talking about at the moment. So you can say whatever you're saying on the video to create that relationship and show who you are, but head over to the blog, read more about this. This is just a 1-minute video. This is just 30 seconds. You're never going to deep dive on LinkedIn, and you don't want to be boring people with a 10-minute, informative video. So I'd keep them short and sweet, and then send them to the blog, send them to your website to read more. And then you can start to think about, downloading content and signing up for other webinars and other things like that. But yeah, definitely agree. I think content with the engagement boost of video is a really powerful strategy right now.
I think there's a big part here of talking around the infinite versus the finite game. Obviously, something that we talk quite a lot about. It's a Simon Sinek methodology. I think it's probably from someone else before that, but he talks quite a lot around it. But marketing and sales is an infinite thing. There seems to be a lot of these tutorials at the moment that are going, set up your sales funnel, your marketing funnel. Once you've set it up, buy this course for X, Y, Z, it'll set it up and it's done. It never works like that. You've always got to be creating new content and bringing new people into that funnel. And you've always got to be looking for new ideas and things that are going to bring them in. One of the biggest things for me is always looking at it as it might not be the right time for that person to buy at the moment, but that doesn't mean that we don't want to market to them. If we're only marketing to people who want our services at the moment, we're actually missing out on a huge sector there that we can be influencing, that we can be interacting with, on the basis that 6 months down the line or 3 months down the line, for us personally, they might go, I'm having a bit of a revenue problem. I need to do something with the sales team. Oh, why don't I get in contact with Sales Geek? I've watched their videos for the last few months. I know them, I like them, I trust them. What are people going to do at that stage? They're going to go with someone that they've got a know, like, and trust methodology with, rather than someone that they've just found. James, I saw you leaning over there.
Yeah, sorry, I do that, don't I? I lean in when I want to say something. As if I get my head bigger. Hello. I get excited. I'm like a dog with a bone. I want to say something. It was just riffing off of something Andrew said about posts and stuff. So we've turned into a little bit of a LinkedIn thing. But two things. I'm conscious of the time. Number one, I want to say something about LinkedIn. But there's a really good question from Catherine Hallett that Dan Holden has also echoed on, and I think it's a really hard question. And I think the three of us should try and answer it a little bit. A couple of quick LinkedIn things for you. LinkedIn loves 3 words. It loves lots of different words, but there are 3 top words. And for you guys all in the training industry that are putting things out there, these are 3 words that should resonate with you. So LinkedIn loves the words habits, successful, and mistakes. Okay, so if you're going to write a post, and the closer your words, those 3 words are to the beginning of your post, to the beginning of your sentence, the more it resonates as part of the LinkedIn algorithm. So things like the top 3 habits of successful, I don't know, whatever the thing is you're into, the top 3 mistakes made by, 2 things there. One, it hits the algorithm. Secondly, people that resonate and want to read that, they're reading one-liner to get them going. Okay, so from a psychology point of view, I don't have to do a lot of work to see what's going on here. And if it's something that I'm sparked and interested in, like habits, mistakes to avoid, successful things, I'm likely to want to read those bullet points. Bullet points are always really good, and it likes them. And again, you can then pose a question. Another great thing within LinkedIn is pose a question afterwards. So these were my top 3. What's your top 3? People will then start to engage because they'll have different thoughts and ideas. Just a quick one. So that was my thing. Sorry, I got all animated about that. I'm conscious of time. There's a question on here from Catherine Hallett that says, how do you sell more to clients who say they've pulled budget for the rest of this year? And Dan says, that's a good question. And I think it's a great question because it's a tough one.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, this is sales, right? This is the nitty gritty hard end of sales. You're talking to a client, a prospect, and you're saying, right, okay, we had this opportunity on the go. It was bubbling along. We're getting somewhere. And then they come up with you and they say, do you know what? We're going to put it on pause. We're going to hold there. We're taking that budget and we're going to spend it on something else. How do you react to that? So, Richard, what do you do?
What I usually do is come back into the bunker and ask you what to do, James. I know you did that in jest. The first thing for me is actually understanding whether that's a real objection, but I know that's what you're going to say, so I'll let you carry on now.
So to the point, we've all got an answer to that, right? So Sales 101, is it really an objection? All the usual stuff, right? So beside all of that, I want to just give you a couple of things about psychology, okay? Just a couple of things. As human beings, when it comes to purchasing, we have two types of purchasing brains, right? We have consumer purchasing, the stuff we go out and buy down the streets, and we have business purchasing, the stuff we do when we're in an organization. So I'm still a consumer buyer, but the way I behave and purchase on behalf of Sales Geek is different to how I walk down the high street and purchase for myself. All right. So first and foremost, there's two different ways that we think about and interact as a decision-making process when it comes to buying services. So it's important to know because within our brains, in the limbic side of our brains, and we at Sales Geek talk about the way the brain works quite a lot, there's this little thing called the risk triangle. All right, all your buyers, all of the people that you're dealing with from a purchasing perspective have the same triangle. You have the same triangle. And the risk triangle works like this. Whenever I'm making a purchasing decision, I firstly, at the top of the triangle, assess the value of risk to me personally. Is what I am about to do about to get me in trouble? Now, if you think about it, mostly for men walking down the high street buying a gadget, does that get you in trouble when you walk home and go to the wife, check out Shiny? And they go, what the hell are you spending 200 quid on the Shiny for? You don't need to this sort of stuff, but it's a gadget. I want that.
A lot of experience here, James.
Yeah, I get in trouble for it all the time. So the first thing is in business, we have this thing inside where we try to assess risk to ourselves. Is the thing I'm about to do going to get me in trouble in any way, shape or form, whether it's in peers, whether it's with my line management, whether it's with customers or whatever. On the second side of that triangle, we're also assessing risk to the people we know within the sphere we operate. So the peer group, our employees, the people that work with us, supply chains and all the rest of it. And then there's the other side of the triangle, just doing it really short, which is the people that we don't know but could be affected, customer groups, procurement, whatever the situation is. So part of the challenge of sales today, especially with the budget thing, is understanding where the balance of risk lies and why it lies there. So overcome, is it an objection? And don't go down all that old namby-pamby old school stuff of, oh, if I understand this is an objection and I overcome it, I'll be doing it, Mr. Customer. That's so old school, all right? It's 20 years old at best, and it doesn't really work in today's psychology and certainly doesn't work in COVID land. So therefore, you've got to get much more articulate in the way that you can engage your customers with these sorts of things. And you need to understand what the root cause of that looks like, where it sits, and it will sit somewhere on that risk triangle. So trying to understand what the risk is, to whom, the level of exposure and the consequence of doing something, not do something, really starts to help you where it is. And then, okay, this is going to be the hard answer. And I know Richard, he's leaning forward now, patting his chest because he wants to say something. Right? The reality of the world is sometimes you genuinely can't influence it, all right? There's a whole other piece to this, which is about people profiling, what color are they, all that sort of stuff. But once you get beyond all of that, if the general mechanics of that business is they have genuinely taken the revenue out to do something else, you have to go with it. The key, though, is how you keep it on track, the conversation, to move it forward into your funnel at another stage. There's no magic bullets to this, but there is a really articulate way to keep the dialogue going, and there's a psychological way to do it, and you need to get adept at doing that. Sorry, Richard, on you go. Close it off now. So I just thought Catherine needed an answer to that one.
Just to cut you off there, guys, I think we're just about out of time on today.
Oh no, Richard, sorry.
And a Walder lined up as well.
I can say that the content these guys do put out on LinkedIn, on social, is absolutely fantastic as well. So I would encourage anyone on today's session. Jonathan's popped the LinkedIn profiles in the chat as well. So do go and connect with the guys. They are fantastic. But I just want to say on behalf of Access Planet and our attendees today, thank you very much, Richard, James, Andrew, and Jonathan, for your time today. I think it's been really, really insightful. Great engagement on there as well, as usual with you guys. So thank you very much. I hope you enjoy your evenings. It's nice and sunny outside, so we can get a bit.